Now, as you know, Jurassic World was released in theaters June 12, 2015, and there has been some massive news post its release. That is the fact that it has broken so many box office records, against popular belief actually. In fact, original projections had it opening domestically, that is in US and Canada, to north of $100 million, probably $125 million or so, but it is now opened to the biggest box office domestic opening of all time. That is $208.8 million, a little over $1 million just ahead of the original Avengers film, and far ahead of this year's Avengers Age of Ultron. And now this film is certainly going to perform well overall, even in fact overseas. It has the biggest international opening of all time, getting about $315 million, making its total a whopping $524 million in 3 days. Now, to put that in perspective, most films nowadays tend to not even gross, say, $100 million at all, and this film in 3 days alone has really surpassed all the expectations, making Universal not only the first ever studio to cross $3 billion worldwide at this point in time of the year, but even making it break the record for the fastest to $1 billion domestically, of course with the help of Furious 7. My big question is, how did all of this really come about? That's something we need to look into, and the fact is, if you look back in the day, the original Jurassic Park, of course, broke the opening weekend record, as did the second Jurassic Park film. The third film, however, didn't perform as well. It didn't have the kind of reception that the first two films did. Back in 1993, the original Jurassic Park film opened to $47 million, which was the record at the time. The Lost World opened to $72 million, which was the record at the time. And this film has, of course, to show inflation, $208 million now in 2015, a number that is unbelievable. Now that it's out of the way, let's really try and look in and understand these numbers. The thing is, Jurassic World did have a very strong marketing campaign, of course, with regards to merchandise and everything. It is all over the place, so definitely there is a lot of a push from that itself. Having this franchise really come back, considering the fact that The Lost World and Jurassic Park 3 are not as well renowned, this really felt like a true sequel, at least from a marketing perspective, to the original film that came out a total of 22 years ago. This is a film for the new generation. Not only is it going to feed off the nostalgia of the people that love the original film, but a film like Jurassic Park is not a lot like the other franchises that are being rebooted or revamped nowadays, like, say, a Point Break. Now, Point Break is well renowned, don't get me wrong, but a thing like Jurassic Park, even today, a lot of people say in their teens have seen that film at least once, if not more times. It's renowned as one of the greatest films of all time, and that longevity has really let the spirit of Jurassic Park live on and has really translated into Jurassic World performing just this well. In addition to that, of course, you have the younger generation of people not so in tune with, say, Jurassic Park. Their parents really taking them to see Jurassic World, and therefore all of that culminating, of course, with 3D prices, a lot of IMAX sales. In fact, 3D accounting for almost 69% of the sales, I think internationally, if I'm not mistaken, have really added to all that. Even a large percentage, I would say 39% of the audience was below the age of 25, so you do see a lot of people that are really getting involved with the whole nostalgic aspect of Jurassic Park and therefore Jurassic World. And to add to all that, of course, just being a big summer blockbuster in general, the last real big summer blockbuster was the Avengers. There's Avengers Age of Ultron that came out May 1st. Sure, you had things like Mad Max, which it did appeal to a more niche audience, however. Tomorrowland, which didn't perform as well. I feel like it's been a while since we've had a massive film, at least of this scale, and every once in a while people need to go and watch films like this. And of course, with the fantastic marketing campaign and the addition of Chris Pratt, a lot of people seem to underestimate that. The fact is, yes, he was not so well known even prior to the Lego movie. He had a few roles. His addition on TV in Parks and Rec, a show that was watched by a few million people, definitely did garner a strong fan base. And you do need to realize that it is that core fan base that really starts to stem a lot of things, wherein Guardians of the Galaxy really managed to bring both his core fan base and the Marvel larger fan base together to really inspire a lot of people to be fans of Chris Pratt in general. The fact is that Chris Pratt now has really established himself as a much bigger star, and therefore I feel that that star power might have attracted people, at least in the trailers. He's now a familiar face to people, and I'm sure after this film, undoubtedly a household name. No doubt this is going to be the highest grossing film of June, at least, 2015. I will have to say, however, while it might have opened to $208 million and 524 worldwide, the fact is, with regards to the reviews it's getting, you look at the IMDb score just under 8, you look at the Rotten Tomatoes score of about 70%, while the cinema score is pretty high, still these factors do play in somewhat. I do feel the cinema score is something you should look at a lot more, because those are surveys of random viewers at times, wherein you don't end up seeing a lot of the bloggers, a lot of people that are more involved online actually, represent the larger portion of cinema goers. And you won't see the average cinema goer really go onto IMDb and actually put in their rating that often. So I feel that in the long run, I don't see it outgrossing the original Avengers film, because still the original Avengers film had a lot more of a fan base, if you will, in terms of them going for repeat viewings. Because the film is being received really well, don't get me wrong, but amongst the core fans, this film is doing, it's doing well. People are open to it. People are enjoying it. People will maybe go for the IMAX experience one more time, but it's not going to have those fans going 5, 6, 7 times that in the death weeks, like 4 or 5 weeks from now, will really make the difference for those extra $20, $30 million or so. However, internationally, I think it's open in most markets. It still does have a few markets to open in, some massive markets as well. So by the end of its run, I'm pretty sure this is a guaranteed billion-dollar film. I mean, I will be shocked at this point if it doesn't break a few more records. Maybe the second weekend record at the most, but I think it's going to have a very significant drop-off, much like, say, Furious 7, a film that opened surpassed expectations, $147 million. But as time went on, did have drop-offs of about 60% or so. The original Avengers film in its second weekend fell to about 50% despite a massive opening. So I feel like this film may gross just under $100 million next weekend, but still, that doesn't deny the fact that I personally really enjoyed the film. I might give it a second watch, and I feel like it's a sudden hesitation amongst a lot of people, because sure, the summer season has officially started, wherein, people might consider this to be a small factor, but kids being off school, a lot of people being off jobs, and the summer season really being this Venn diagram of the summer season, if you will, and everyone being in that holiday spot that intersects between the two circles at the time, is a very important factor with regards to this release date. A lot of films have done well in June, and you've seen Man of Steel, which again was not particularly well received, open to $116 million and still did have a certain amount of legs to really push itself closer to $700 million, despite being a film that had a very mixed response. And Jurassic World, however, does have a little bit more of that fan base, because it's still part of the same Jurassic Park franchise. It's not necessarily a reboot, it's more of a sequel, as it would be known. But I do believe that because it really defies the idea of demographics, it's a film that appeals both to children and to adults. I feel is something that's really going to help it transcend, not just today, but even over time, making it the box office mammoth that it is, making it gross a hell of a lot of money in the days to come.